Hey there everybody, welcome back to Groundhog's Garage. My name is Jim. I think the sun's in your eyes, but better your eyes than my eyes, because then I just squint through the entire video. But for today's project, I have a Stihl, and it's Stihl backpack blower. It belongs to a friend of mine, and he says he used it last fall, but he hasn't been able to get it started since. I'm going to take off the cover and hit the carburetor with a little ether and see if it fires up. And if that works, then I'm going to pour out that gas and put in some my own fresh 2-cycle gas and see what happens. So let's get started. Here's the beast. Now I have a Echo, but it's basically the same thing. This is a 600, so what is that, 60cc or whatever. But let's see what cover. Probably there's a screw right here. It looks like a quick release screw. Let's get that off and let's see if we can get it started. My troubleshooting thought process here is it's a Stihl. Quality material, quality device. How bad can it, and it ran, how bad can it be? Not very. So it's got to be at least the first thing I'm thinking of is doing the simple things, and the simple things are, does it have good gas? Is the air filter clogged, which I doubt, but you know, if it doesn't fire up with ether, then on Echo products they call it the igniter, but whatever coil, whatever you want to call the coil that fires a spark plug, it could be that, or it could be a bad spark plug or a clog or whatever. But wow, how do those come out? They can't be that hard. Okay, that one's loose. There we go. Now the filter looks okay so far. Yeah, a little oil gas colored maybe. I don't know, is that white when you get it new? But let's make sure it's got gas in it too. Yeah. And we got the choke on. Stop, let's turn it on. And give it a couple pulls and see what it does here. Pump up the primer bulb. Looks like a new primer bulb. We might be onto something already. It's not priming. That's interesting. T25s to get the screws out. Getting covers off of stuff you never taken off before is always interesting. There's 4 screws, one here, one hidden up under here, and one hidden up under here. So I don't think I got to take this cover off. I hope not. This cover here. Nah, I wouldn't think so. Well, I think I do got to take that cover off. Let's see what happens. Yep. Okay. There's the fuel. I don't know, can you see the fuel lines in there? There's the fuel lines coming out of the tank. And then they go up behind this cover here up to the primer bulb right here, and you can see the primer bulb. It's only got a little bit of fuel in the bottom of it. So if I look in the gas tank, it's pretty close to the top. Hold on, let's get a flashlight in there. The gas smells good, so you can see the filter there. I can, hopefully you can. Maybe a better flashlight. There you go. LED to the rescue. Is it possible the primer bulb is not installed correctly? For giggles, let's turn the hoses around and see what happens. Okay, that didn't work. There's all sorts of little hidden screws here. Okay, here's where I'm at. The primer bulb works. If I press it in and put my finger on there, there is suction on that side, and then it wants to blow out this side. And if I blow in on this side, it goes into, it's just air, which would be the return line. And this side is connected to the filter, and that is what should be getting pulled up in through by the primer bulb. Now, that's how I have it set up now. It was reversed. So if I'm correct, and I couldn't change it because, and I couldn't just change the lines at the primer bulb because they're cut at different lengths. So I had to switch them here, and we'll let me put the camera down and I'll hook up the primer bulb and we'll see if it circulates. But I think it will. Okay, here we go. There it goes. Look at that. Primer bulb's full. So I will put everything back together, and I think this thing ought to fire right up. There you go. That's how the wires, I'm sorry. And that's how the fuel lines get looped through the back. They've got little spacers for them, and they were on top of each other, and there's a little crimp in the one I got my thumb on. And you can see the throttle cable also has a holder to go through as well. So I'll get this laced in here and get it back in a position I can show you. Okay, a little primer bulb education. If you just want to know whether it works or not, or which side is the suck and the other side is the blow, if you squeeze it in and just put your finger against one of the ports, if it holds the ball in, that's the pull side, which that is the pull side. And then that would make this side, if you put your finger on that, you can't push it in. So that's the blow side. So sorry for the choice of words, but that's what it is. So I'm going to hook up this one to the fuel line that I changed and put this back up to the carburetor, and then we'll see how it works. Okay, place your bets. Can you see in there? Here we go. Oh, I got them backwards. See, you got to check. I have to cut the end off of here because it got stretched out being on the wrong port, and it's allowing air in there. So I'm going to trim off a little bit, straighten it up a little, so it gets a good tight seal. Okay, just a squirt or two. I've already primed it. You can see the gas in there. but here we go. See how that works? Alright, I'm going to hook it up to the carb, and we'll see if we can get this thing to fire up. It's all connected to the carb. Give that a pump or two. And that's kind of interesting that that's not flowing back to the carburetor or back to the fuel tank, but okay. I guess at this point, how confident am I this is going to work? It's got gas now for sure. So let's, I'm going to put some of my stuff away here. Now, I'm not real sure where all the switches are going to go to have to start this thing. I don't know if I got it on or off. I think I have it off. So let's put it up like that. And you know, an Echo has an on-off switch on the handle up there, which this one doesn't have. So hopefully this is on. Something's still not right. Alright, so we're on to stage 2. It's not starting. I'm not positive I'm doing it right. It doesn't seem like there's any on-off switch but here's what's sticking in the back of my mind. This should be like when you press this, my experience has always been the fuel goes up into the carb and it kind of recirculates through the carb. It's not doing that. So I'm going to pull the fuel line off up here, make sure the fuel's coming through, and then if that's true, something's going on in here. So let's see what's going on. Okay, so I pulled the fuel line off up here, and you can see the fuel's coming out, which is what it should do. Alright, this is interesting. So I've got the primer bulb and everything still hooked up. I took the top of the carburetor off, and I pressed on the primer bulb a couple times. You would expect fuel to come through the top here, and watch what happens. Should get rained on, and nothing. The fuel isn't coming through here. So there must be something blocking that little port there, because that's where it should be coming through. Alright, let's take this and hit that with a little compressed air and see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens now. Yeah, there's something in there. Okay, I turned the pressure up on the air compressor, and let's see what happens now. Oh yeah, definitely some fuel now. Alright, now I'm going to put it back together. Hopefully before the rain I take a bath here. And I think it should work perfectly. Something definitely in there though, I got it out. A little rain intermission. Okay, the third time's a charm. We've got everything, all the fuel lines routed correctly. I cleaned out or debris, whatever it was that was clogging that port into the carburetor. And let's straighten this up a little bit here so it doesn't look like your gimbal bearing's off. There we go. And again, I don't know if I got the switches on right, but let's give this a try. Look at that! let's see how this goes here. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Well, I can start it now,
Okay.
but how do I keep it running?
How do you do what?
How do I keep it running? So I don't know where to set the chokes or your handle.
Well, when I ran it and it got running itself and I just held the handle to keep it running for a few minutes.
Yeah.
For a few seconds, then it stayed on.
Okay.
So, but yeah, once it started, I basically had to kind of rev it and keep it going, or else it would just die right out.
Okay.
You're getting it to start pretty frequently, though.
Okay, so you got it from your dad, right?
I got it from my dad, yeah.
Did he have it serviced?
I don't think so. He probably got it in that condition because he said that he had problems getting it started. It takes like 10 minutes.
Okay, because the fuel lines to the primer bulb were backwards. So it wasn't...
They were backwards?
They were backwards, so it wasn't sucking any fuel out of the fuel line through the primer bulb to get it to the carburetor.
Oh, shit.
And then when it would get to the carburetor, it wouldn't go in the carburetor because because the port for the carburetor was clogged.
Oh, it's clogged. Okay.
So you had two things going on there.
You're a genius. You know that?
Well, you know, Mark. Okay, so you probably heard that conversation. So I can get it started. You've seen me get it started. You heard me get it started. The adjustments for the carburetor are right here. The high and the low. So let's open up the low a little bit, maybe a quarter of a turn, and see how it goes. And if we can get that going, then we'll see how the high works. Okay, I can get it started pretty regularly now. I pump the primer bulb a couple times and pull it 2 or 3 times and it'll start, but it won't stay running. Now, I don't know if you can see in there, but the adjustment screws are in there, it's hard to tell what shape they are, but as luck would have it, I had bought these a long time ago because I have a Homelight rototiller, one of those little 2-cycle jobbies that never really ran right, and I thought, well, I can get some. You have to pull those plugs out so you can get to the adjustment screw, but I'm going to try a couple of these because I'm guessing that it's just running too lean, and this is not going to start or run until I adjust those carburetors. So I'm going to give this a little try here, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so it's time to bid the blower adieu. I can keep it running if I keep pressing the primer bulb. And I think it probably either needs a carburetor rebuild or a new carburetor. It showed signs of somebody being in the carburetor when I had it apart to clean that port. So I don't know if there's pieces missing or anything like that. And for the price of a carburetor, it's definitely worth it. These things aren't cheap. So I'm taking it back to the owner and we're going to talk about it, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I know it runs well, but definitely has a carburetor issue, and I would say, based on what I saw with the fuel lines and everything else, that somebody was probably in the carburetor too, trying to figure out why it wasn't getting any gas, etc., etc. So that's it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw, click on that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and leave comments down below, good or bad, or if you've had experiences with this. You heard the backstory or part of the backstory that it has never worked right, at least as long as my friends had it. So, and his dad. And my guess is that somebody was messing with the springs and workings and didn't know what they were doing, clearly. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Have a good night.